Hello, this is Zena. We're going to be reading Tiger Eyes by Judy Blume. If you believe it or not, this will be the fifth time I'm recording this video. If you want to know what happens, you can imagine it, but I don't want to say. Chapter 17. There are more than 250 clubs in this town, and Bitsy belongs to 9 of them. Not a morning walk, twice a week jazzercise, backing class. Her calendar is so full it looks like a doctor's appointment book. Still, she always has time for the family, especially Jason, who is growing closer and closer to her and Walter. One night, I hear Bitsy telling Walter that Jason reminds her of Adam when he was a boy. I think Bitsy misses my father more than she lets us know. There are a lot of clubs and associations at the high school, too. Danielle, a girl in my American Cultures class, is trying to get me to join the Society for the Preservation of Creative Anachronisms. She dresses in a toga and medieval type sandals, but lace up her legs. She wears a fuzzy and hobbit-like creature pinned to her shoulder. During class, she knits. I've never seen her take a note yet. I know she's a straight A student. Danielle is like the girl. She's the girl. Back then, she probably be spastastic or whatever they called it, but now she's the girl. She is the girl. We have jousting matches, she tells me on Wednesday after class. She stands so close I can smell the garlic on her breath. Jousting is so cool. I have no idea what creative anachronisms are or why anyone would want to preserve them. People want to preserve shit. Davey's a hater. But I say, look, I'm not really into jousting. She shakes her head, clearly disappointed, and drops an arm around my shoulder. You could give it a try. I inch away, wondering if she's gay. 'Cause she's trying to be your friend? Okay. I'm overexerted now, I tell her. This is an expression I have picked up from Bitsy, who uses it on the phone whenever she is asked to volunteer for this or that community activity. How so, Danielle asks, fingering the fuzzy creature on her shoulder as if it is alive. She's not one to give up easily. I've got a lot of family responsibilities, I tell her. I don't know why I'm bothering to make excuses since I don't owe her an explanation. Mm, I wouldn't say you don't owe her an explanation, but since you're giving one, you don't be an asshole about it, you know? Go on, she says. And I'm a candy striper at the hospital, lying through her teeth. She's lying through her teeth. This is not exactly true, but Jane has been after me to join with her, and now on the spot, I decide that I will. Anything to get rid of Danielle. Top tier hater. Danielle accepts this piece of information with a shrug. I thought you were the unusual type, she says, pulling a green cape around her shoulders. But I see that I was wrong. She swoops past me and out the door. I have learned plenty about the dynamics of this school in just 2 weeks. For one thing, everyone is classified by groups. There are coneheads, loadies, jocks, and stomps. Coneheads are into computers and wear calculators strapped to their belt. That's cool. They are a carbon copy of their fathers, grinding away for the best grades so that they can get the best colleges. Loadies are into booze, drugs, and there are plenty available. I wish I could say that's crazy, but hey, they still doing it in 2026. You can buy whatever you want out of the trunk of a car in the parking lot. Jocks are jocks. Every group makes fun of each other, of every other group. Coneheads laugh at jocks, jocks laugh at loadies, loadies laugh at stomps. Stomps dress in 10-gallon hats and cowboy boots. They chew tobacco and spit and ride around in pickup trucks looking for fights. I know that I will never fit in here. Of course, there are other kids like me, other kids who don't fit in either. There's the girl Anne, who screams in the hallway. I can't figure her out. Maybe she realizes the futility of trying to fit in, just as I do. Anne is not happy. Maybe the screaming just helps regulate her emotions. There are guys who aren't really coneheads, but who aren't anything else either. And it's tough on them because the kids here are very into putting down anybody or in anything that is not exactly like they are. I somewhat think it would be terrific if all of us who don't fit in formed a group called the Leftovers. But the thing is, she don't want to fit in nowhere. And if there was a group called the Leftovers, she wouldn't want to be in there either. She don't want to try to fit in into this new school because she want to go back home. And she think going back home, subconsciously, she think going back home is going to bring her daddy back. That's not how it works, big dog. There are only one or two blacks in the school. And one night I asked Walter how come. To tell the truth, Davy, he says, there are very few black scientists in this country. I wonder why. We're trying to recruit more. We're trying to encourage bright black boys and girls to get into science. There are scholarships available. My friend Linnea wants to be a scientist, I remind him. Yes, I know. But it's not only blacks who are missing. In New Mexico, there are three cultures: Hispanic, Anglo, and Native American. When I was in third grade, we studied Native Americans, except we called them Indians. And what we learned about them embarrasses me now. I guess New Jersey, Atlantic City, that's what she had, right? Was ahead of their time because in my state, my city, like we're talking, like this is the capital. They were still calling them Indians until I was in what, fifth grade? Well, my mom told me to say Native Americans, but in school they were saying Indians. And what we learned about them embarrasses me now. My family is Anglo, white, Caucasian. I mean, don't look at me. And we are in the minority in the state, but not in Los Alamos. Los Alamos is an Anglo town, absolutely. And in our high school, there are no natives, and there are only a handful of Hispanic kids who happen to live here because their fathers work at the lab doing maintenance. This is, I mean, this is a product of its time. I had for my geometry class, but the teacher doesn't show. This isn't unusual. He missed 5 classes since I came to school, and we've never had a substitute, which means he isn't absent for the day, but just for our class. When he doesn't show, he arranges for us to see a film, usually having nothing to do with math. Most kids settle back and go to sleep. Someone always smokes. I have dyslexia. Someone almost always snores. A couple of kids use the darker room to make out, but I don't mind the films. I find them more interesting than geometry. Today's film is about hemophilia. The narrator has a deep voice and says, hemophilia is a hereditary. Hemophilia is a hereditary plasma coagulation disorder, principally affecting males but transmitted by females and characterized by excessive, sometimes spontaneous bleeding. If you liked my deep voice, put it in the comments. I already know this because in 8th grade I read Nicholas and Alexandra. Still, I am not prepared to deal with the film on bleeding. My heart starts to pound, and I can't catch my breath. Halfway through the film, I have to leave the room, afraid I am going to pass out. If I had a nickel for every time a main character ran out of class because they couldn't stand the sight of blood, I'd have 2 nickels. Which, as you know, isn't a lot. But what happens next is absolutely crazy because it's like, is this Mike? It's like bar for bar. And this came out in the 80s, so you know who was taking whose bars? Ruben, who is somewhere between a conehead and a regular person, comes out into the hall after me. He is in 3 of my classes, and I have caught him watching me since the first day I came to the school. This is the first time he has spoken to me. Can't stand the sight of blood, huh? He jokes. I know that he means well, but as soon as he says it, I feel a wave of nausea, and I am sure I am going to throw up. I press my head against the cool concrete wall of the corridor and count slowly to 20. The nausea passes. You want some water, Ruben asks. No. What can I do? Nothing, I say. Go back to class. What about you? I'm going home. And I walk out of school. No permission, no excuses. I just take off and walk home. You could not do that now. Unless the people in the front office genuinely don't care. You literally could not do that now. When I get there, the house is quiet. Bitsy is at the museum, giving her tour. And this is the bomb that we dropped on Nagasaki. And this is the bomb that we dropped on Hiroshima. Uh, Oppenheimer. I go upstairs, passing my mother's room. I look in and see her sprawled across the bed. She's holding a couple of photos. Mom, I say, what are you doing? She looks at me as if she doesn't know who I am. That would literally make me throw up. That would have me so traumatized. You have to stop taking that headache medicine, I tell her. Do you hear me? You have to stop. She nods. Yes, she says, I have to stop. I get this feeling that my mother and I have changed places and I don't like it. That she is the little girl and I am the mother. I don't want this kind of responsibility laid on me, and I am glad that Walter and Bitsy are around. That really do make me think of something like, I don't want to just, like, like, she really loves her husband. She's, like, uh, very traumatized by his death. And not only is she traumatized by losing the love of her life, they were, if I remember correctly, I started reading this a while ago, and before that, I haven't read it since I was a teenager. But this was a one-income household, and so now she's gonna have to get a job and everything to pay for it. Now, Bitsy and Walter are two-income household and no kids, right? Twink. But if, like, just think about that. The person you loved most in the whole world died in a violent crime, and then your daughter is just sitting there listless, lifeless, and so you gotta pull up your G string and handle yours. But then the sister comes, she said like, hey, I'm gonna handle this. And then so you just, those are not headache pills she's taking. Those are not headache pills she's taking. Okay? Those are not headache pills. I don't want to repeat shit like Dr. Umar Johnson, but those are not headache pills he's taking. And then, I mean, I do understand it, but she need to get back into she needs to get into some therapy. The pills ain't gonna do justice on their own. Now back to the story. Yet I remember that when I fell apart and couldn't get out of bed, my mom was there to help me get back on my feet, as something inside of me tells me that I shouldn't be angry at her now. That's just what grief is. You know, you're angry at people who didn't didn't do it. You're angry at people who didn't do it. And they're feeling different ways than you were feeling. And everybody literally experiences grief differently. One person can die, and everybody who loved them is experiencing the grief differently. Everybody didn't have the same relationship with that one person. Some people's relationship was deeper. Some people weren't. You know, some people like maybe some people don't have deep relationships at all, and then this was their closest friend, and then something happened to them, and it just completely derails their whole life. So it's not mean to be. It's not. I don't think it's wrong to be angry at her, but it's wrong to project that angriness onto her. You know, like take the anger that you got for her and say it somewhere else. It is more than the headache medicine, though. More than the headaches themselves. And this time when Bitsy takes mom to the doctor, he recommends therapy. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? He sets up an appointment at the Family Counseling Center for mom. She is to see someone named Miriam Olnick tomorrow afternoon. Miriam Olnick. I have to get myself together, mom explains that night at the dinner table. It is the first time in a week that she is joining us for dinner. In a week, sometimes people just need a week to rot. But look at, she's coming back and she's getting herself together. I have to get myself together, mom says again. Walter reaches over and covers Jason's hands with his, silencing the fort. I'm not myself, mom says. I'm not the person I used to be before Adam. Her voice trails off and there is a heavy silence at the table. It is the first time she said his name out loud in front of us. Before Adam, she tries again, but her voice breaks. Died, I say. Oh my goodness. Davey is funny as hell. Everyone looks at me. I feel my cheeks flush. Then everyone looks away as if I have broken some deep, dark secret. Jason goes back to tapping his fork against the table. Well, Bissy finally says, trying to sound cheerful. You know how quickly food cools off in the high altitude. And she serves each of us a healthy portion of chicken tetrazzini. I don't know what that is, but that's it for today. Chicken tetrazzini. I'm going to search that up and see if it looks good. Thank you guys for watching. Oh, like and subscribe.